boys and girls, it's Little Red Riding Hood. How are you today? I hope everyone's doing great. We're on chapter 25 today, reading Pay Attention, Carter Jones by Gary D. Schmidt. It's getting good. Unfortunately, Carter's had some flashbacks of his trip to the Blue Mountains, and he's told the butler that it was his fault that his dad wasn't coming back. Do you think it was his fault? I don't think it was his fault. I think his dad made his own decision not to come back. And they're getting ready to play cricket. And the game has begun. Chapter 25, Batsmen. Two batsmen always go in to bat together, and they are called the striker and the non-striker. To score a run after a ball has been struck, they must each sprint the length of the pitch and touch the ground of the popping crease. The success of their team depends upon the interdisciplinarity of the two batsmen. Okay, this wasn't a match for the ages. James Hopwell was on 12 before Krebs, who was at mid-off, caught his shot. Good ball, bowler, Krebs called back. Even though I was lucky, Hopewell hadn't hit it out past all the fielders and gone for another 6. Then I gave the ball to Chall, and Brian took his turn to bat, and he had scored 10 before Steve Yang stumped him. Think you can probably imagine what we did. And then Krebs and Team India run in and gather around their next bowler, and he said, okay, we've got things under control now. Stay focused, okay, stay focused. And Jones, I looked at him. Jones, you're doing great. Keep on. Okay, I said. How's that spinning finger? Fine. They went back to their positions, and Steve Yang handed me the ball. Bowl him out, he said. And Simmons stepped up for the Team Britannica. You ever heard of Shane Warne? He was from Australia. I bet he hated the Blue Mountains too. And he once bowled this ball to Mike Gadding, a batsman who could hit just about anything. The ball was way outside the leg stump, and Gadding knew it wasn't going to come close to his wicket. In fact, it was so far outside, he decided he'd just block it with his bat and pad. He figured the wicket keeper would get it and throw it back. But Shane Warne, who for sure hated the Blue Mountains, bowled with this wicket spin. And when the ball hit the ground, it took off straight for the wicket, beyond Gadding's pad, beyond his bat, even. So when Gadding looked behind him, he saw the bells down, and he was bowled out before he had swung his bat. I know Shane Warne thought the Blue Mountains of Australia were horrible. So guess what happened to Simon Singh? Not that I'm Shane Warne, and not that it was anything more than sheer stupid luck, and not that it had anything to do with how I was holding the green marble just before I bowled, even though maybe it did. But when Simon looked back behind him, his bells were on the ground, and suddenly the whole Team India was cheering and cheering and cheering. And that little kid he was standing up and hollering to, and the two old guys in the white sweaters were calling, good ball, good ball. And then everyone in the stands was standing up, even though I'm not sure they really knew what had just happened. But they were yelling too, and even Simon Singh was nodding his head and smiling. Good ball, Jones, he called. The rest of our bowling wasn't as good, but you only get one ball like that in a lifetime, the butler said later. Jenkins went for 8 before the butler called him out for hitting the ball twice. With Klatt, I tried a googly, and he hit it a long mile. Then I tried another one since I figured he wouldn't expect it, and he hit another long mile. So after that, I kept the balls low and fast, but he still managed 10 before the ball slipped under his bat, and he was stumped. And it might have been a little bit because of the blood that my spinning finger was leaving on the ball, but I didn't care. Chall bowled the final over, and you could tell he wanted to bowl De La Pena for a duck. But you could also tell De La Pena was not going to let himself be bowled for a duck. Still, He only got 6 runs, and then it was the last ball, and the Butler called De La Pena leg before wicket. Even though he said he wasn't, and Krebs asked the Butler to let it go, but the Butler gave him that look, and De La Pena left the crease, and Team Britannica had no balls left. But Team Britannica had scored 46 runs, and it was already 15 minutes after 9 o'clock. 3 minutes, called the Butler, and he looked at his watch. Did you catch that? It was already 15 minutes after 9 o'clock. Actually, it was 16 minutes after 9 o'clock. And do you remember that the Longfellow Minutemen were due to play at Seton Badgers at 10 o'clock? And right now the score stood at Team Britannica 46 runs, Team India 0 runs. And there was no way we could bat all our 6 overs in 45 minutes. Can you imagine what Team Britannica was doing right then? Can you imagine what Team India was doing right then? Can you imagine what Krebs was doing right then? If you've ever been to a middle school football game, you know that a whole lot is happening in an hour before the game begins. And this was a game where the people in the stands had already been sitting around in the cold for a long time, watching a sport they didn't even know the rules for, except maybe the 2 old guys in white sweaters. So they were standing and jostling around, probably wondering if the cricket match was over and who won anyway. Some were tightening their blankets around themselves to keep warm, or getting up to go find styrofoam cups of coffee, or drinking from silver thermoses that had the Minutemen logo on them. The Minutemen and the Seton Badgers were already sprinting up and down the sidelines, their breath coming out from their helmets like exhaust. They were pounding one another's pads and screaming stuff into the wind and driving their knees up and down like pistons, and throwing footballs back and forth. And Ryan Moore and Marky Panetta were bashing into each other, and Vice Principal Del Blanco was studying his clipboard and adjusting the headphones that were too big for his head. In the announcer's box above the stands, 2 8th graders were testing the mics and the speakers. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Go Minutemen! 1, 2, 3. And I looked over at the Butler, who looked over at me, and then looked over at Krebs, and then said, "Right." He motioned to Coach Krosky, and together they sprinted over towards the stands. Well, kind of sprinted. The Butler was portly, remember. Meanwhile, Team India and Team Britannica gathered on the wicket, and maybe I was the only one of us who saw what I saw. The Butler and Coach Krosky stopped in the stands, called to Mr. Krebs, and then all 3 went to the principal's wicket. The wind was picking up, and it was getting a whole lot colder, so we gathered in close. "I guess we're not going to be able to bowl all of our overs," said Son. Krebs held a bat. He looked around at the stands and the Minutemen, who were now running drills on the field. "I guess," he said. I thought he was going to cry. Hopeful, who could be a jerk, grinned. "So Team Britannica wins, right?" Krebs stared at him. If he had the right superpower, he could have shriveled Hopewell down to a small pile of mucus inside the white sweater. I stood next to Billy Cole. "Hey, you okay about not batting?" He looked at me. I was a stupid 6th grader. "Are you kidding?" he said. "It was the best moment of my life." He pointed to the stands. "Do you want to bat in front of everyone? And it's an 8th grade team anyways?" I nodded. I sort of knew what he meant. And that was when the 2 8th graders in the announcer's box thumped on their mics again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear us? Raise your hands if you can hear us. Okay, so we've got an announcement from Principal Swisgett. You could hear that mic being passed over, and one of the announcers saying to Principal Swisgett, "You have to get closer, closer. Okay, you're on. No, you're now. It's live now." And then she came on. Good morning. Is this on? Are you sure? Good morning, parents and grandparents and students and friends and sponsors. This is Principal Lillian Swisgett speaking. Thank you for coming out for this great event. Really 2 great events. The epic battle between Longfellow Middle School and Minutemen and the Seton Badgers, and the very first middle school cricket match between Team India and Team Britannica, coached by our own Coach Krosky and Coach August Paul Bulls Fitzpatrick, who are now crossing the track in front of you. Applause from the stands. Let me introduce them. Coach Victor Karofsky. Wave, Victor. Coach Karofsky waved. Coach August Paul Bowles Fitzpatrick. The Butler did not wave. And one more introduction. Mr. Lionel Krebs, who as of yesterday was hired by our school district as a new director of athletic activities. Wave, Lionel. Mr. Krebs waved. I have one announcement. I am delaying the start of the Minutemen Badgers game by 20 minutes so that the Team India may complete all of its batting. The Butler stopped and looked up at the announcer's booth. So did the two old guys in the white sweaters. I'm so sorry, it's over. So that Team India may receive all of its overs. Team India is currently behind by 46 runs. In case you lost track, if you are here only for the football game, you are invited to snack bar behind the north side of the stands for free coffee. But I encourage you to see the second half of the cricket match, during which we couldn't hear the rest of the announcements because everyone in the stands was cheering. Team India was going to bat, and no one in the stands left to go get the snack bar, not even for free coffee. That's the end of chapter 25. And we really don't have that many more chapters to go. But that's okay. We have another book chosen that we're going to read once we finish this one. And I can't wait to tell you what it is. But for now, let's review. So Team India hadn't even gotten to bowl yet. And they're 46 runs behind. Do you think they're going to catch up? And the principal is delaying the game by 20 minutes. That is super cool. How many principals will delay a game like that? Okay, that's Pay Attention Carter Jones by Gary D. Schmidt. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to use our curbside service by calling and letting us know what book you want. We'll pull it, check it out to you, put it in a plastic bag, tell us what time you're going to arrive, and we will put it on the bench that says, "Don't let the pigeon drop the bus." And it's not too late to sign up for summer reading. You can go to www.mccpl.lib.al.us. You can sign up there. You can also place books on hold. Just remember, we're going to contact you by either email, text, or phone call. And we'll let you know when your books are ready. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.